Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stammer AI Agency office hours. Give a second for some people to join in here. Got some cool updates and overview on some new features for everyone today. We're gonna go over some housekeeping items and then some new updates, and then we'll review and go over any questions that anybody has at the end of the meeting. So if you guys have any questions up until then, please feel free to put it inside the Zoom chat, and we'll be happy to answer those questions as we get towards them. All right. So to get started today, just a quick overview on some things that I like to mention on to the beginning of these office hours. It's always helpful to just make sure everyone is aware of where all of our information and data is consolidated. So, of course, on our website, we have links to everything as well as in the dashboard. But it's important to know that the information is always accessible to you guys in multiple different ways. So if you go to roadmap.stammer.ai/changelog, this is going to show exactly every update that we push. We have one that went out this morning, so we'll have an update that will be sent out to everybody's emails later today with some minor UI improvements. The other cool thing about this is it's a public roadmap. So if you guys have any ideas or changes to the platform that you'd like to see, you can submit it here. And over time, we start working through those to get the items that people want developed into the platform. It's very useful to get this type of feedback. So please take advantage of that if you guys have any ideas. Got a couple more people joining in here. Welcome, everybody. Just going through some housekeeping stuff. In addition to our public roadmap and our changelog information, of course, we have all of our documentation at docs.stammer.ai. This is going to have all of the tutorials and specific information that you need to know about how to do different things. One of the most common areas that people start out with is inside the prompting area. There's a lot of useful information inside this that showcases examples from multiple different LLM providers. So it gives you a good broad base of knowledge on how to write prompts for different AI agents for different use cases. And then finally, I'm going to post this link in the chat. I mentioned this last week as one of the other resources. This is something that we send out to everybody's email when they sign up. I'm going to put this in the Zoom chat here. It'll also be linked down below in the YouTube description for everyone watching on YouTube. This essentially is all of our resources that we like to hand out to agencies and users of the platform to help them get started with things like creating their website, writing out emails, GIFs and templates for different things. There's a lot of information here, and I actually just added a new one. I believe, Kasuni, you were asking about our profit calculator. So I added that in here as well. You can now copy and paste this HTML into your own website or wherever, and you can customize it however you need. I would typically paste this into something like ChatGPT or whatever, and you can customize it for your prices and all that stuff. So that's quite useful as well to have, and all of that information is inside that Notion board that I just put in the chat there. So that's free resources for everybody. Please take advantage of that. And if you have any questions, reach out and let us know. All right, so moving ahead towards some of the updates that we've been working on for the last week. Of course, if you have any issues or concerns with the platform, please submit a support ticket. Our team is actively looking into everybody's tickets and trying to create solutions for them as quickly as possible, in addition to all of the new features and updates that we're pushing as well. That being said, one of the new things that was pushed this morning was a UI update to our knowledge base. So for everyone that's not aware, a knowledge base is essentially how you add custom information to an AI agent so it knows data about a specific company or a client, whatever it may be. You can go into any specific AI agent and go to the knowledge base tab, and you'll see that it's the same exact layout or flow as it was before, except now it's just designed in a better way, as well as being more of a dynamic user interface. So you can switch between the tabs without having to worry about saving or refreshing the page. This is all using React, which is very nice. And we did separate out the scraped URLs from the website scraper itself, which is a small ease of use change. Everything works the exact same. You scrape URLs And then those URLs you can select to train specifically on whichever information that you'd like to add, basically. And you can add as many URLs as you want. You can also include the ability to auto scrape it daily. So if you leave this URL in here, and this is functionality that's been there for a while, but just as a refresh, you can keep URLs in here and then it will auto rescrape every 24 hours. So that way, any data that is updated on that website or URL will be included in the information that it gets from the scraped URLs. And so you can see when a URL is scraped, it will show the amount of characters. You can view the data that was scraped from that URL just to make sure that everything is correct. So again, everything functionality wise is the exact same. It's now just updated to work better, faster, easier, all those great things. Another honorable mention, we've got some questions about this over the last couple of weeks, but it's the question is, what's the difference between just scraping versus enabling advanced scraper? And the easy answer for this is if you're trying to scrape a website that has a lot of dynamic data or is built using it's built using a different method. So for example, if it's like a lot of JavaScript on the page, sometimes the normal scraper is not able to pull all of that data out. So if you're coming across any issues with scraping, I would recommend trying the advanced scraper to see if that would pull down the data that you're expecting it to pull down, as well as the ability to do other things like infinite scroll and the ability to wait before scraping, which would essentially tell the scraper, hey, take a beat before you scrape the next section of this page. These are all additions that we've added over the last couple of months based off of how users are scraping websites in the real world. So if someone has an issue with scraping a website, again, please let us know and we'll be happy to help you out and get all that information added to your AI agents. So that's one of the major updates. There's a couple other small bug fixes and updates that we pushed that will be fully detailed in our release notes later today and tomorrow. That being said, moving ahead, we're continuing our investigation on some of the new features with things like voice and MasterChat, which is now in our testing environment for certain agencies. For everyone that is new or is not aware, we're adding in a new feature called MasterChat, which essentially allows users to chat with AI agents inside of a ChatGPT style like interface. So as it stands right now, what we're looking at in these AI agents can be embedded in a website or they can be integrated into different platforms like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, or even using the API to connect it to any other third-party platform. We're now going to be adding another quote unquote integration. It's not technically an integration, it's just how your end users are using and working with these AI agents. And so that will be in more of a chat, like I said, a chat GPT style like interface. We'll have some updates and examples and stuff probably next office hours. So be sure to join or follow along and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'll be having some stuff added to there as well. So lots of cool things coming down the pipeline. And like I mentioned, of course, we're actively building out our voice option right now, which will allow you to create AI voice agents and then connect those to businesses and custom knowledge bases. All the existing functionality will be there, but now to be behind a phone number and a voice agent, which is really cool. So that's mostly the updates for today. Drew, do you have anything else you want to mention or add or anything I forgot?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Right on. All right. Well, so if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to put it in the chat and we can get started in going over some of the questions here. And he says, Hi, Ross. I wanted to ask if there are any plans to implement a master view that consolidates conversations from all AI agents within a single account in the near future. Currently, we have to check each agent separately, and having a centralized dashboard would be a great improvement for efficiency. I checked the roadmap but didn't see this feature listed. Is this something that might be introduced soon? So we actually just implemented, we're about to release a bunch of new API endpoints, which I believe I can give you a little demo of here. Some of these new endpoints that we are going to be releasing. So this is not live yet. This is in our testing environment, but it's a good way for us to kind of show you guys what's coming very soon. Some of these new endpoints, like being able to retrieve conversations from your AI agents, might be a workaround before we implement something like you're mentioning. So you'd be able to basically use this API to pull down all those conversations, regardless of the AI agent, into a single place, and that would allow you to essentially do what you're looking to do, although that wouldn't be in the native side of the platform. We can look into what that might look like, where there's a consolidated view for the agency side of things, and that would allow you to consolidate all of the message or all the conversations. And that's actually going to be partially implemented with some of our new analytics features that we're working on actively and we'll be releasing in the next couple of weeks. So that might be a good way to get that part of it started. So hopefully that helped you out with that question. Sam asks, what extra support does Stammer provide to their enterprise level customers? Is it possible to add our tabs besides existing labs tab on the website to support additional functions we provide? It depends. So to your first question, extra support, we do provide extra support. Some of the early subscribers to our enterprise level plans have access to myself and Tim, our CTO, to be able to essentially talk about these options that you're asking about. So instead of having to pay extra or whatever it may be, we just include that as a part of the enterprise level customers, in addition to having a better price per AI agent. For right now, the current starting enterprise offer is 1,000 AI agents, I believe, with 1 billion characters of storage for $2,500 a month, which is $2.5 per AI agent, which is about half the cost of the full SaaS mode plan for 500 and 100 AI agents. Is it possible to add our tabs besides the Labs tab on the website to support the additional functions we provide? We are working on expanding how custom functions work. You can add custom menu links already, which might not necessarily be exactly what you're looking for, but it does allow you to add custom menu links in the left-hand column right here for your sub accounts. A lot of existing customers will use this to link their platforms back and forth with each other. This will also be useful when we start implementing and working on a single sign-on feature as well, which is something that we're looking into. So that could be a first option, section option. The second option, which is I think what you're mentioning more so with the Labs tab. Labs right now only contains the custom functions feature. We are going to be slightly shifting that to where it allows you to implement more custom functions through, I guess, more standard processes, like being able to send a post request with authentication, things like that, which will then be able to be templated and added in as a custom function that your users can then see and implement in a much easier way. And he says, another question I wanted to ask is if it's possible to disable the collection of IP addresses when users are starting a chat with an AI agent. I have not found a way to turn this off, and I'm considering GDPR compliance. Is there an option to prevent IP fetching, or do you have any recommendation on handling this to stay compliant? We can look into removing that option. That is something that we can look into. As it stands with staying compliant with GDPR, that we would also have to look into as well. So I'll make a note of that, and we'll have an answer for you either by next office hours, or if you'd like to submit a support ticket for that, we can look into that and email you back as well. Kasoon says, how often is the white label documentation updated? Can we update? It is missing the other LLMs. The other LLMs are not currently available, which is probably why that documentation is not updated. We do try to update it with every end user feature that is enabled. That being said, we've had a lot of people kind of take their own version of the white label documentation and then modify it as they need. and then they'll use something like Notion or something to be able to put that in as a custom menu link in the side here. Because a lot of people like to certain things, but not show other things, basically, depending on the use case for their agency. So I would probably recommend something similar to that. Sam says, can you show me again where the custom menu links will show up after I create one? Yeah. So if you go into your agency tab here and you go to create a custom menu link, and if I was just to go to take a link here, could create, paste in a URL, and I could say like roadmap, let's just do this one, put a new tab, create. So, and so now if I go into a sub account here, we should be able to see.
Hey Ross, I think it only appears on the white label side, not on the Stammer side.
Oh, you are correct. So if I go into a white label version, there we go, roadmap right there. And that would open up the link like so. Thank you for that reminder, Drew. I always typically show Stammer side of things. So that's why I wasn't showing up there.
So does that mean you can remove the documentation that's there, for the white label documentation?
Yes. Yeah, Drew, I believe we added that, right? Think to the agency side of things. Let me see.
I'm sorry, say that again. I lost you for a second.
Yeah. So show white label documentations right here as an option where you can enable or disable it.
I've got another question. I don't know how to ask this, so
Yeah.
typing. When we created an agent, and then in the future, when we have this agentic world, are we being optimized to have other agents communicate with our agents? Is that conceivable?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a future scenario we are considering. We've had a couple customers ask us the ability to have agents work together. So if I always try to think of this like a group project in school where you had, three or four different people and each person has their own assigned jobs, but you're all working together towards a common goal. There's a couple different scenarios that work off of that generalized concept. The first being the ability to send one prompt, at which point multiple different AI agents can respond based off of their own individual prompts. For example, we have an AI agent that creates ad copy, one that writes emails, and one that creates blog posts. You could send one single prompt that would then ask all three of those AI agents to spit out individual answers inside of a single environment or chat window. The second scenario would be having one AI agent's answer being referenced to a second AI agent. So, for example, if I was talking with an email creation AI agent and it wrote out an email, I could then potentially, in this scenario, tag another AI agent that says, hey, turn this email into ad copy and do so inside this entire chat or inside this single chat. This is extended functionality that we're looking to add to our new MasterChat interface, which will make it a lot easier for these scenarios to actually work themselves out in a way where users can understand it, we can understand it, everybody will be able to stay on the same page when it comes to these certain things.
Final question that I had to drop. Goodness, I just don't know how to ask this. So one of the selling points for are actually I'm targeting businesses that don't have any sort of agent on there. And okay. I'm making the case for, well, you need one because, later on, you're going to have these agents making purchases or asking questions on customers' behalf. So I guess my question is that plausible that we are optimized for answering questions to other agents? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess a use case example could be like ChatGPT operator, for example. If operator was the one navigating to a website and then couldn't find what it's looking for, so then it sees that there's an AI chat widget on that website, and then it asks a question like, "Hey, where is this?"
Perfection, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work essentially in the exact same way as it works now. It's just instead of a human typing that answer in, it would be a AI agent typing it in.
Okay, good. So it's a plausible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a plausible scenario.
Okay.
I think the way that I'm seeing this, even today as it stands, March 11th of 2025, collectively, the AI market is still extremely young and new. There are a lot of business owners out there that are still anti-AI, but I'm sure as it's clear to everybody on this call, the future of AI is coming as quickly as humanly possible. And if your website essentially doesn't have this outlet, there's going to be customers and clients that slip through the cracks because they're not able to find the information that they need. That's more preaching to the choir, but I'm sure that's always something to mention. Oh, nice. Fireflies AI taking some notes here. Oh, cool. Any other question? Oh, perfect. Andy says, I'm really looking forward to MasterChat feature. Huge update, massive potential. We definitely agree. We're very excited to get it into everybody's hands. With its launch, are there any plans to enable plugin support similar to ChatGPT and TypingMind? It would be a great to extend the AI capabilities with plugins like render charts for data visualization or image generation using models like DALL-E 3 and Stable Diffusion. Yes. Short answer is we're doing staged releases. So the idea is to get it out to you guys as quickly as possible so that you guys can start using it and helping us improve it. What was that? Getting it out to everybody and then extending its functionality. So we have the ability to render any type of HTML inside the chat widget as it stands. So we're adding that functionality. We're going to be pushing that functionality over. We have the ability to render images inside of the chat as well, which could come from a knowledge base. Doing things like image generation using DALL-E or Stable Diffusion can be additions that we add later on after the initial version of MasterChat is released, along with other things that stem from our custom functions, like we were talking about with Sam earlier. And that's exactly, yeah, Sam says, do you consider allowing third-party plugins that could use your SSO and can access a user database? Yes, that's in the works right now. That's going to be an enterprise level feature. But the idea here is we want to have these AI agents have all of the extended functionality for basically any third-party platform. We've been heavily looking into this new concept that's been floating around the AI space called MCP servers, which is essentially a to any third-party API. So we're looking into how that can be implemented for ourselves and for your clients to make it much, much easier to connect to any third-party platform to be able to pull and retrieve data and take actions on behalf of the user as we expect these AI agents to do. So for example, in the past, when we've created custom functions for things like getting dynamic data from a Shopify store, and instead of having to create third-party code or any type of authentication process that might be a little bit more intense or confusing, we are working towards creating a process that is extremely simple that allowed you to have the same exact functionality, but without having to do any of that coding required, essentially. And he says, when will the full SaaS mode users get to test MasterChat? Can't wait to get it on my hands, or can't wait to get my hands on it. We are in internal testing right now. I would expect it to be out for full SaaS users within a week or two. And that will be kind of that initial version that I was mentioning. And we'll email everybody. We'll email everyone when that's available. Soon says, what compliance certificate does Stammer AI have? I guess it depends on which ones you're looking for. If it's things like HIPAA and more extended things like that, those are all enterprise level options that are kind of an a la carte basis, because those require certain other things like signed agreements basically with our service providers. So if you'd like more information on that, submit a support ticket or send me an email, Ross@Stammer AI, and we can discuss that further.
Ross,
I
can I
want to
go ahead?
go ahead, Kazoo.
I was going to ask, can I ask it in another way too? Some of the clients that I'm targeting, they're actually concerned about the responses that are given to the agent. And so where does it show that it says once you're communicating with the agent, you've given your consent. So like a consent agreement. I don't know. What do you call that?
For so a consent agreement that the user is chatting with an AI?
Yeah. I mean, I have my own way of answering that because once you agree to interact with the agent, it's just like any other phone call you make,
Yeah.
uh, right? So,
Yeah, most of the agencies that we see in the dental or medical space, there's two ways. Number one is in the privacy policy or the terms and conditions that say by being on our website, by interacting with the bot, by filling out forms, you consent to that. And then what some of the other agencies have done is they'll actually put an initial message in addition to whatever the, hey, how can I help you message. They'll put something along the lines of, hey, this is an AI assistant designed to help you do whatever it is you need to do. Some agencies do that as well. The In terms of HIPAA compliance and things like that, we don't typically recommend the bot to collect some of that, pertinent patient information.
right,
So what a lot of agencies do is they'll put it like we have an agency that focuses on ortho, and they allow the person to submit their name, their phone, their email, their preferred time or date of appointment. And then the office is responsible for reaching out, confirming the appointment, and collecting any additional information that might be relevant. So that way, the compliance, is all taken care of, and whatever permission they might need to speak to an AI is as well.
right. And finally, this doesn't prevent any customer from putting their information in, but that's not required. Didn't ask for it, but they're assuming that maybe they can get a little bit more information if they include, let's say, social security. I don't know.
Yeah, for that, we as a platform don't recommend anybody putting or asking for social security numbers, because that's a whole nother level of complexity that we as a platform have to add into this. So that's not something that I would recommend as highly recommend against.
No, 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 I get it. I'm just saying
Okay,
the customer did put that in.
got it. Yeah, that's out of our control at that point. Well, I mean, we don't use or sell or do anything with the data anyways, so you can always assure them that everything is protected in the back end if somebody were to do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we can't control what people say, how they say it, what information they put in.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Drew. And he says, I know this isn't currently possible, but would it be feasible to customize the chatbot's initial greeting based on the specific page the visitor lands on? This would enable more personalized, context-aware interactions, improving engagement and conversions. If this feature is being considered, I'd love to see it prioritized. I already added it to a feature request in the roadmap. Perfect. Yeah, thank you for adding it there. Yeah, we'll definitely look into that further. We've had people ask about that in the past, not so much recently, but I think as we continue to talk with new users, that will be something that people will be interested in. So we can definitely look into prioritizing that further. So definitely. Perfect. Any other questions, comments, concerns today? If not, I appreciate everyone showing up today and asking your questions. It's always great and useful to see what everyone is asking. Oh, we got one more. Yeah, I have a quick question regarding data storage and GDPR compliance. As I understand, Stammer currently stores data in the United States, but with no option for EU-based storage. For businesses that need to comply with GDPR and require data to be stored within the EE, would this pose any compliance challenges? Additionally, does Stammer have any standard contractual clauses? Yeah, so let me send you the link where you can find all this information.
I want to jump in here too, Andy. We do quite a bit of business over in that part of the world. I'm not aware that GDPR has made it a requirement to store data in the EU. I know it's highly, highly recommended, and some companies do have that requirement. So it is something that we've looked into in the past to potentially have a server over there to help with some of these questions or potential clients' issues. So it may be something we do in the future, but is it a requirement coming from a client? And are they specific about where the information needs to get held?
Yeah, and to go off on top of that, this is also where the clients that do require that end up going with one of our enterprise options for local storage, because typically those clients want that information to be stored on their servers, which could be local to the EU. But the link I sent in there, perfect. Yeah, that should give you everything that you need to know. That's where all of our documentation about our security and policies are. Take a look at that. And then if you have any other questions beyond that, please feel free to submit a support ticket and we'll get that sorted for you. Right on. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this week's office hours. Thanks again for everyone for joining, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.